But if we did everything that everybody else wants us to do and never take care of yourself, like at the end of the year, I'm not going to be like, I'm so glad I went to that bridal shower that I didn't want to go to and I gave up my goals for. Like that's the reality. And I think that hasn't been socially normalized. And that might be a hot take, but that is how I personally do that. And, when something really important comes up, of course, I can move things around. But I also put my goals out into the world. Like, it's what I'm talking about. It's what's important to me. It's no surprise to anybody when I say no to things because they're out in the world. So it's very subjective, but I really encourage people to think about, are they changing it to please other people or are they changing it because it's important to them? If it's important to you, change it. But if you're just doing it to not have a hard conversation with someone or so you don't have to have like a confrontation, I encourage you to put yourself first because our calendars can really get overwhelmed with other people's requests.
Welcome to the Blue Rose Podcast. I'm your host, Becca Blue Rose, a runner, storyteller, and believer in creating a life that feels like your own. Some weeks it's just you and me, and other weeks I'm joined by women who are chasing their own version of a bold, unapologetic life. Together we explore what it really means to take risks and trust your own path. Taylor Prokes is the co-founder of the Big Ass Calendar and works across a studio of startups with entrepreneur Jesse Itzler, where she also runs his personal brand. She's also an endurance athlete who's completed a 100-mile race and a 100K race and has raised over $38,000 for MS through the New York City Marathon. In this episode, we talk about intentional planning, the Misogi, mini adventures, and what it really means to put your plans first. Please welcome Taylor Prokes. Thanks for coming on the podcast. I saw your post and I was like, she has to come on my podcast because people need to know about these. I had one last year and it was life-changing. And then I got my best friend one this year for her birthday in October. And I was like, you gotta plan your calendar. So we are gonna we'll do a little like FaceTime date and plan our calendars. So
Wait, that's really cute. Well, that's what I do with my friends too. We'll all get our calendars out and then we write everything that we want to do on. We'll be like, all right, what weekends are open? Like we have it
Mhm.
open because we want to plan things together. And
Mhm.
before they all get filled up, we do that FaceTime thing. So we can be like,
Mhm.
okay, July is almost booked. I have one weekend or I have 2 weekends in August. Like if we're
Yeah.
gonna go on this camping trip, what is some place that we all overlap? And then we just get it on the calendar. We like mark it off right then because if you don't
Yeah.
do it, like you're trying to plan things with your friends, so hard.
It's so hard. And I feel like the older I get, it just like you just like realize it more.
Yeah.
Um, but to start us off, why don't you introduce yourself for people that don't know who you are?
Sure. My name is Taylor Prokes. I am a co-founder at the Big Ass Calendar. It's a giant wall calendar. Our flagship product is a calendar where you can see all 365 days on one page. And we really encourage people to plan themselves first, put big goals on the calendar, get to the end of the year and feel like you did things for yourself versus just reacting to everybody's request for your time. And we give people tools to do that. We really want them to succeed. So we've built this community of people who achieve huge goals, see their parents more, move cities, change their job. Like it's just big moves because they visualize it. It's kind of like a vision board come to life. So
Mhm.
that is our flagship product, and that's what I spend most of my time on. I also am across a studio of startups across Jesse Itzler. Um, Jesse Itzler is a serial entrepreneur and he's my partner across these businesses. So we've started companies together. I also run his personal brand. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's a crazy person. He runs ultra marathons. He started Running Man Festival. Was a part of Zico Coconut Water, Marquis Jet. He's married to Sarah Blakely, who started Spanx. Like they're crazy people. They're amazing and they attract like the best people in the world. That's how we met.
That is how we met. Yeah, we met at ice camp. Like, when I tell people that, like, 2 days before this ice camp, I spent however much money I spent and, like, bought a flight to go to this 2-day ice camp in the middle of, like, what was that, in Minnesota in the middle of the
Minnesota?
winter, people are like like, "What do you mean?"
What?
And I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I went to ice camp. Like, you should try it sometime."
Yeah, we put
So
on ice camp before, which is where you go for a weekend. We on a lake in Minnesota and we cold plunged and sauna. We did other things too, but the flagship events are cold plunging and sauna. And you just do that with a bunch of people who like cold plunging and sauna in a very extreme environment all weekend. And it's so fun.
Yeah,
So
it was really good. How does someone, if they're gonna get this calendar, how do they actually plan it? Because I do remember too when I first got my calendar, Taylor, I was very overwhelmed. I was like, "What do you mean you want me to plan my entire year right now?"
100%. It's also crazy because seeing your whole year on one page is very jarring. You're like, "What do you mean this is all the time I have?" But once you get past that, the best thing you can do is take advantage of it. So we
Mhm.
wanna help people do that, and we do it through 3 ways. So we understand that it's overwhelming. We spend all day, every day thinking about this, so we've come up with a system that, like, kickstarts the process for everybody, and it's following 3 things, so we'll walk through those. The first thing is putting a Misogi on your calendar first. A Misogi is a year-defining event. It's what's you're gonna look back at the end of 2026 and go, "This was the biggest thing I did all year." Like, this is your biggest goal. Is that a bucket list trip? Is that a marathon for the first time? Is that a 5K for the first time? Is that writing a book? Is that getting your pilot's license? Like, it can look like so many different things, but it's something you put on the calendar very intentionally, like with a deadline, with a race, and you work towards it and look forward to it. It helps you say no to things that don't matter or move the needle for you. It helps you stay focused. It gives you something to talk about all year with people. It makes you more interesting, and it's a big form of self-care because you just prioritize something that requires a lot of time and attention, and you've put it on your calendar and you're focusing towards it. It and I promise you, if you've never done this before, I love doing physical ones because what I've found so much is I've signed up for physical Misogis for like 6 years in a row now, and I've signed up for things that I never thought I would do. And every year I've kind of gotten bigger and bigger, longer, different types of things that I never thought I would do. And when you train for them and learn about it, and when you actually accomplish it, you feel like you can do anything. Like, your confidence goes through the roof. I gave up different things in my life that weren't moving the needle as much to make room for this thing that mattered to me. I'm more interesting to people because I'm always talking about some random thing that I've got going on. Like, there's never a boring conversation with me, I promise you, because there's always something I'm getting ready for, learning about. Um, and then you meet other people that are interested in things that are on your radar. So if I'm telling everybody all year that I'm running the New York City Marathon, they're like, "Oh, my cousin's doing it too," or "I was thinking about doing it. You want to go on a run together?" And it changes your whole year. It changes your relationships. It changes how effective you are at work. Like, when you have a big goal that's personal that you're applying to your life, I really think it makes every aspect of your life better. So that's the
Mhm.
Misogi. Once you do a Misogi, you can never go back.
What was your Misogi this year?
This year was, this trip to the Austrian Alps with my sisters and my best friends. It was a backpacking trip through the Austrian Alps. We've been trying to plan this for 2 years. We're like, "This is the year." My friend is trying to get pregnant. We're like, "It's just gonna get so much harder." And so we planned this big trip through the Austrian Alps, and it was life-changing. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done. It was a hut-to-hut hike. So there's a lot of hikes like this in Europe where you book different huts and you hike all day to these different huts. So you'll be in the middle of nowhere. And then there's just this like B&B basically with beer and amazing food and other people that only got there because they hiked all day. And then you could just sleep and wake up to and hike to the next hut. It was unbelievable. But that was like a big bucket list trip for me. The year before was the New York City Marathon. Me, my sister, and my best friend raised $38,000 for MS. We did so many challenges and dares to raise that money all year. And then the flagship event was the Misogi. The year before that, I ran a 100-mile race. The year before that, I ran a 100K race. The year before that, I did rim to rim to rim Grand Canyon. The year before that, I climbed Mount Whitney with my mom and my sisters. I mean, it's a snowball effect. It just like once you start doing this, it becomes addicting because it really is so life enriching. And you said you do the Misogi.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was
I mean,
so
well, it's funny because when I learned about the Misogi, like, I, like, thought back on it because Jesse always asks, he's like, "If you look back on your year, like, can you tell me what you have done?" And I feel like I was already doing it without knowing it because in
Yep.
2021, I moved to Spain. In 2022, I moved to Switzerland and I started a podcast. In 2023, I ran my first marathon. In 2024, I ran my first 50K and I did my first 50 miler. And then this year I with much smaller things, but I mean, I started singing lessons and I learned I took pottery classes and I learned how to make sourdough. So
What's it
this
once you
year
start, it's a lifestyle. Like, this
yeah,
is just, like,
yeah.
to kick it off. When people are like, "Where do I start?" When you start with this, like, if I'm answering completely honest, I did the Austria trip, but I kind of end up doing 2 Misogis a year because my other one was planning a surprise birthday party for my parents,
Yeah.
and it was basically like planning a secret wedding. It was a surprise birthday party for 2 people, like, we had over 100 people. It was in surprise, like, it was so much of my year and such an important thing to me and very hard to pull off, and it's a memory I'll always have and was so important to me forever. So you end up having more than one, but I'm
Yeah.
telling you, if you've done this before, it's like a great way to start is to put that
Mhm.
Misogi on your calendar.
Yeah, so then you just have a list and be like, "Yeah, what did you do this year?" 'Cause, and I started doing this with my friends too, even before I started Misogi. Because every year I, like, talk to my friends and I'm like, "Okay," like, because sometimes you get in this rut and you're like, "I haven't done anything, like, what have I done?" And I'm like, "I think you should write a list of all the things you've done, like, in the last 5 years, like, all of your 20s, like, what have you done?" And if
Mhm.
like, the list starts to get long and long, and then they're like, "Oh my god, like, I actually have done a lot of stuff." And so I think this is just another good way to be like, I have done stuff. I have goals and I have
We're
intentions.
moving on so fast that you forget. And
Mhm.
we're at a lot of us are at like such a high pace and we're doing so much that like, if you're feeling low, you probably don't even realize everything you've done. So that's an amazing point. So I've been asked a lot, like, how do you close out the year? Like, how do you learn from your calendar? And what I do is I go through my 2025 calendar and I do
Mhm.
this throughout the year, but I go hardcore at the end of the year as like a closing the year exercise. And I go through my camera roll starting in January and I have my calendar out and I go, oh, I had dinner with this person. Oh, this person visited me. Oh, I went on this date. It was really fun. All those little things that were fun. I went to this run club for the first time. Like all these little things that I might have not put on my calendar because either they weren't planned or I just like didn't get to it. I write them all down on my calendar in permanent marker because like I don't need it to be dry erase because it's happened. I put it all down so I can see what actually happened in my year. And then you have this calendar that's like chock full of things and you go, okay, like I actually did so much and it's helping you remember all those little moments and you just can't remember it unless it's visual, unless you remind yourself. It's short and it's long at the same time.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
really helps see like, okay, I only saw my parents a couple times this year. You can think about that. Did that work out for you? Do you want to do it more next year? Oh, I made a lot of time for my friends. That felt very good. What didn't feel good? Like, what did you actually end up doing and what do you want to do more and less of? And I think you need to take stock of that before you go into the next year. So even I have had people be like, I never ended up using my calendar. It's still sitting here. Do this end of the year exercise with it. It is so transforming to like I think you said it right. Your friends are like, "What did I even do?" And sometimes it hits your confidence, but if you actually take stock of what you've done, it
Mhm.
really helps you move forward because you can at least know where you started.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a really good exercise because I'm sitting here struggling with what my Misogi is gonna be next year, and I'm reflecting on the whole year in general, and then I'm like, "What am I doing next year?" And then I saw your post about the dream list, so I started there, and I was like, "Let me at least just write them all down." But then my question there is, I have 65 dreams on that dream list, Taylor. How do I
Mhm.
pick which one I'm doing next year?
I I operate purely off of excitement.
Okay.
And you can pull some reality into it. Like if you have 10 weddings you want to go to and like commitment, like a lot of financial commitments and you need to pick something that's not as expensive as a Masogi. Like you can kind of weigh in what's happening actually in your life. But
Mhm.
if everything is created equal, it's like what is most exciting to me right now? Because if you're picking something big that you have to revolve your year around, you have to be pumped on it. Like in order to say no to other things and to get these training plans or to book these big trips, like you have to be so excited about it. So I just break it down by that, like what would make me most excited. That's why I like to get it all on the list because I want to do everything eventually.
Mhm.
But the other thing I do too is I will map everything out on my calendar, all the things I want to do. So let's say I want to go to a Coldplay concert and I also want to run the New York Marathon and all these different things. I'll put them all on my calendar with like sticky notes I can just tear off and I'll see like, okay, well, both of these are on the same weekend. Can't do both. Like, what do I want to pick? And that's another way to do it. Okay, you put everything down. What's actually realistic? Okay, if I do this one, I'm going to be gone for 6 weeks straight. I don't want to be gone for 6 weeks straight, so I'm not going to do that. So some of it's just like a logistical thing, but mapping it all out and seeing how your year flows together. Look at it as an exercise on like y- you're architecting your year. So how do you want it to look? Like, how do you want the flow to be? Do you want to be super busy over the summer? Do you want to have a free summer? And those decisions will help put it all together. But if you're really struggling and you have a long list of dreams on your dream list, put all of them down and kind of look at how it's shaking out. And then, that's a good way to start on, okay, how busy do I want to be each month? Does this
Mhm.
work for my business? Does this work for like the other priorities I have? Like, have I put my parents down, seeing them? Do I want to spend X amount of time at home this year? Is that baked in? Like, did I block off time to lay low?
Mhm.
And I think just throwing it all on there and then backing up from there is a great way to do it if you have a lot of
Mhm.
dreams.
Which I do. Um, okay, going into Kevin's rule. What is Kevin's rule?
So Kevin's rule is so you have your Misogi, and then the other thing is to put 6 Kevin rule trips on your calendar. Kevin's Rule Trips is a mini adventure. So, like your singing lessons or signing up to do stand up comedy or pottery lessons or a picnic in the park or the local polar plunge. It's something that's out of the ordinary for you. And ordinary is different for everyone. Someone might be like, I do all of those things. Okay, it's not a Kevin's Rule Trip then. But if you watch football every single Sunday and instead you take your kids fishing, or instead you sign up for the local polar plunge or a local 5K and you put it on your calendar in advance so you look forward to something that's out of the ordinary. When you get to the end of the year and you had these 6 mini adventures, those are the things you're going to remember. We remember newness, and in order to have newness, you have to plan it. So this kind of forces your hand to plan it. And when you start with 6, I probably have 30 a year, like, but it's a kickoff point. It helps you bring newness into your life because it's really easy to get stuck in routine with your job. And especially when people have like partners and kids and other people they're planning around, it's really easy to get stuck in your routine. And I can't stress enough, a Kevin's Road trip can be like so expensive if you want it to be. It could be a little vacation. Um, and it can also be free. It could be we're gonna go do a picnic in the park, but we're putting it on the calendar, and we've always wanted to go to the free movie in our local park, but we've never gone, but we're gonna go on this day and like go have that experience. Just give it yourself time to look forward to these things. There's free stuff everywhere we can do. It's just about breaking out of your routine so that at the end of the year you can actually like fall back to some memories.
Mhm. And then the last one
And then the
is
last thing is winning habits. So
there it is. Okay.
picking 4 winning habits. So everyone wants to become a new person at the beginning of the year, but it doesn't work. What works is picking 1 habit per quarter because it takes on average 66 days to form a habit. So you can change other things in your life. If you need a big change, like cut your hair, but if you want to like do actual change in habits, pick the one that's most important to you, and for 3 months, that's all you're gonna do. If it's drink 100 ounces of water, we're not gonna drink 100 ounces of water and sleep with our phone outside of our room and go to the gym 5 days a week and do a meditation practice. You're just gonna pick one, and then for a quarter, you're gonna focus on that because then it'll become a sustainable habit. So then when you introduce a second one, the second quarter of the year, then that can be a sustainable habit. So at the end of the year, you have these 4 sustainable habits. So if you were like, I'm gonna meditate and journal and all this stuff at the beginning of this year, and you're getting to the end of 2025 and you're like, I don't do any of those things still. Don't try that again. Like if you genuinely want to make a change, just pick one. And
Mhm.
then after the first quarter of the year, pick the next one. Because if you come to the end of the year with 4 new habits, like that's life transforming.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of breaking it down into smaller things. And what I like to do is track it on the calendar too. Like I give myself a little dot. We just made little stickers because I'm a sticker person, little stars that I'm going to start putting on the calendar. So I like habit tracking, a visual habit tracker. What's nice about that is accountability. So if you can give yourself a visual accountability tool, then I think it's like a much higher chance of it happening.
okay, say I have my calendar planned and then I get to February and my friend just got engaged and their wedding is when I planned something else? Or do you change around your calendar if that's something that you want to do? Or are you like, this is my calendar, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to say no to these things that come up because that's very reactive and maybe it's not my top priority?
It's both. It's what
Okay.
is that? If your best friend's wedding comes up and it's an absolute, like, can't miss that wedding and it's a last minute plan, of course, like, you're gonna have to make some changes. But I will personally say that I haven't been to a lot of baby showers, bridal showers, and I've been to one bachelorette party in my life. I've been invited to a lot because if I'm prioritizing myself, I don't have all those weekends to give away. It's just the reality. Like, if I went to everything, I would have had so much less of my goals done. So I say I will be at the weddings, I will be at the funerals, and I've created a boundary in my life where I don't go to the other things. And that's hurt some people's feelings, and I understand that. But if we did everything that everybody else wants us to do and never take care of yourself, like, at the end of the year, I'm not gonna be like, "I'm so glad I went to that bridal shower that I didn't wanna go to and I gave up my goals for." Like, that's the reality, and I think that hasn't been socially normalized, and that might be a hot take, but that is how I personally do that. And, when something really important comes up, of course, I can move things around, but I also
Mhm.
put my goals out into the world. Like, my friends know, like, if I'm running the New York Marathon, they all know about it. It's not a surprise to anybody. Like, I tell everybody what I'm doing. Like, it's what I'm talking about. It's what's important to me. It's no surprise to anybody when I say no to things because they're really much like they're out in the world. So it's very subjective, but I really encourage people to think about, are they changing it to please other people or are they changing it because it's important to them? If it's important to you, change it. But if you're just doing it to not have a hard conversation with someone or so you don't have to have like a confrontation, I encourage you to put yourself first because our calendars can really get overwhelmed with other people's requests. And also, if you say, well, this important thing is happening this weekend or on Wednesday or whatever, a lot of times people can be flexible to that as well. They can move their last minute plans around. I think it makes you have to communicate more, but I promise it's worth it.
Mhm. I think a lot of times when we say no to things that are important to other people, we think like they're not going to want to be friends with me anymore. I'm assuming that if you have really good friends and they understand your goals, then they are supportive of that. But I don't know if you've had a different experience or if you've had both experiences, which you probably have.
Yeah, I've had both experiences. Most of the time, people are understanding. Um, I learned this from Jesse, and it is that you can show up for your friends without physically being there sometimes. So let's say my friends are going to a bachelorette party in Nashville and I'm not going. And I have this other thing going on. You can still send a round of shots. You can tell them, I hope you have the best time at your bachelorette party. You can send a gift ahead of time. You can you can show up and be supportive of the event and not pretend like it's not happening and still put your mark on the event without being there. Um and I think it's also just communicating like, "Hey, I've had this other thing planned. Like,
Mhm.
I can't move it." And eventually people, if they're the right people in your lives, I really do believe that they'll understand. And of course, there's hard conversations that happen, but
Mhm.
I always try to still show up for my friends and I try to communicate about these conflicts in schedule and they understand
Mhm.
for the most part.
As much as you can, but I
Yeah.
think yeah, I went to a bridal shower, a bachelorette party, and a wedding for someone, and it was all in the span of 2 months, and I was like, that was 3 of my weekends that were just, like, gone, and as more of my friends start to get engaged, I'm like, I'm so happy for them, but I'm like, I don't want my years to just end up looking like 10 weddings and 10 bachelorette parties and, like
Engagement parties, and, like, it just
yeah.
goes on and on. Listen, same, I have a huge friend group, and I'm
Mhm,
turning 35 in 2 weeks, so I've been through, like, the big wedding seasons, like, if I went to everything I'm telling you right now, like, my life experiences would have been more than cut in half,
mhm,
and my budget for them. Like, I have friends who have said yes to everything, and I do think that they regret it.
mhm,
Because they just, like, didn't have the funds to do what they wanted to do, they didn't have the time to do what they wanted to do,
mhm,
and you can't get that time back, so I have no regrets. I think at the beginning, I could have communicated things a little bit differently, but you live and learn with that stuff. But just because it's becoming normalized in society to go to like 5 events per wedding and the baby showers and everything, like you can support your friends in other ways while still prioritizing yourself.
Mhm. So, as someone that is I mean, I guess you kind of just explained this of, like, supporting your friends and in ways of not being physical, but for someone that is very busy and you have businesses and you work with Jesse and you're traveling a lot, like, how has planning your year changed your life? Because, right, for me, I love spontaneity, right? I feel like I've left myself open and left myself room to, like, make plans, but then it's like, plans just, like, don't just happen. They don't just, like, spontaneously enter your calendar. I'm curious what planning has done for you in terms of spontaneity. Like, has it helped? Has it made it harder to be spontaneous?
It's definitely helped. This is why. Through planning, I have surrounded myself with more people that like to do the things I like to do because I've signed up for races, because I've gone to certain events, because I've planned things and been able to invite more people and given them time to show up to those things. My community has grown in a very big way, and it's grown with people that have the same interests as me. So I get invited to way more things that I want to go to.
Mhm,
So I have a bigger community inviting me to last minute races. Oh, we're doing a thing at the sauna tonight. Oh, we're all going to go down and do this race. Oh, this person's doing this thing here. And it's all things that kind of align with my world. So I have more opportunities to say yes. And of course, I overschedule myself sometimes. But when I plan things out, it's not 365 days. There's, like, something every week, honestly, but then there's a bunch of open days for me to say yes to these things, and I think the more you build up a community of people who like doing what you wanna do, which I think for me, planning things has led to that, then the more things you're gonna be invited to and the more opportunities for spontaneity, because when you are so busy, you can't be the only person planning, like, these spontaneous, like, events, so having people invite you to them is really great.
mhm.
But I still put them
Yeah,
on the calendar. I'll find out about something, like something will come up on my TikTok or my Instagram, or I'll see that this concert's in town or a comedy show, and I'll be like, "Let's go."
mhm,
I think also when you prioritize yourself a lot and put a lot of things on the calendar, your capacity to do more things just grows. Like if you're not used to doing anything for yourself, putting a couple date nights on the calendar a month is going to feel like a big deal to you because you have to adjust your whole life to accommodate that. My life is used to that. So accommodating more things is easier to me. It's like your time management gets better and there's more opportunities to say yes to experiences. I really think
mhm.
this is all a muscle, like planning. And yeah, I say yes to more things than anyone I know.
Do you find that everything that you're doing now is like, "Yes, hell yes, like, I wanna go," or do you still have those moments before you have plans where you're like, "Oh, I just, like, really don't wanna go tonight? Because we all have those moments, right, where, like, it's like, "This has been planned forever, but, like, I'm here and I don't wanna go do it."
I'll start by saying I'm extremely extroverted.
Okay.
So I have a lot of introverted friends. And I have a sister who's very introverted, and the rest and recharge thing is different for those people. And I think like sometimes my sister will overschedule herself and simply like cannot go. I cannot relate to that at all. So like
Okay.
let me just preface that by saying I'm only putting things on my calendar that I wanna do. I don't do things to people please very much at all, like, everything's pretty aligned with what I like to do, so when it comes up on my calendar, I actually don't feel like that. Of course, sometimes I'm tired, but, um, I never don't really wanna go.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but that's good to hear though, because like I think it's important to, yeah, take personality and like how people rest and recharge. Like, right, a lot of times I'm imagining you get re-energized by being around people. And some people are
Yeah.
like that, just even if they're my favorite people in the world, sometimes I just need some me time. So it's good to say
But it's
that.
the same thing, like, I think you need to know yourself, and when you put everything on your calendar and plan it, you can see if you're overscheduled, like, my introverted friends know if they overdid it,
Mhm.
and I think if you're not really looking at how your time flows together, those things can get away with you and you run into that time and time again. But if everything's mapped out and you can see how much alone time you have scheduled and how many rest days you have scheduled, and then you run into that less. Like, I
Mhm.
really think that it works for everybody so that you run into that situation less to plan
Yeah.
versus like, winging it, and then you said yes to a bunch of things, but you had dinner plans that you really wanted to go to, but now you're too burnt out to go to. Like,
Mhm.
it's still
Yeah.
prioritizing the thing that you wanted to do that you put like, if you made those dinner plans, you wanted to go. So it's
Mhm.
setting yourself up for success, so when you get to Friday's dinner plans, you scheduled in that time to
Mhm.
recharge.
So, friends. So, right, making friends is kind of difficult a little bit in your 20s. Like, how have you I know that you said, like, planning has allowed you to make more friends, and I'm curious what that looked like and how you were able to make friends because I do think there are probably people that are gonna listen to this and be like, "Well, that's awesome, Taylor, that you have, like, friends to go run with and to invite places, but I'm still in a place where I'm trying to make friends because I want to elevate my life and I wanna elevate my community, but I
Yep.
still don't know how to do that."
And also, I think in your late 20s, sometimes that, I mean, for me, and from talking to a lot of people who have gone through that phase of their life, you start to have your own interests, and maybe your friends that you had in college and high school aren't really lining up with like what you want to do anymore. And you're going, okay, I need to make some new friends for the first times in a few years. It just happens. I went through the same thing.
Mhm,
You have to be willing to put yourselves in situations to meet the right people. I think consistency is super key. So, for example, we can use a run club as an example. If you're a
mhm,
runner or you like the people you meet that are runners, then go to run clubs and you have to go consistently. So, it's going to the same run club every week and saying hi to somebody every time. And I treat friendship making like dating. If I meet you, Becca, like, and we like each other, I say, I like you. Can I have your number? It's like being a kid on the playground. Like, want to do something? And then as much as I can, I take the momentum up from that moment. If we meet at a run club, I don't wait. Maybe we run into each other a couple run clubs in a row. I get your number. And then I'm like, let's get coffee this week on Tuesday at 10 a.m. I don't like leave it up to chance. I plan the coffee date. Like, let's put it in writing. Of course, sometimes it has to move, but I'm not like, let's get coffee sometimes. I say, Tuesday, 10 a.m. Are you free? And a lot more coffee dates happen when you put those parameters on it. I also invite people to things. So if I meet somebody and I get along with them like a little bit, and like, this could be a cool girl for me to hang out with, and I'm signing up for like a relay race, or I'm going to the sauna, or anything where I can invite someone to, I invite people.
mhm.
And that mean they can say no, but a lot of people want to make friends and they'll say yes, or they'll remember that you invited them and they'll invite you to something next time. So it's just nurturing relationships over and over. I literally moved to Utah a few years ago to meet girls who liked racing, camping, hiking. I wanted friends that liked to go on adventures. So I was going on Bumble BFF and I was going on hiking dates with girls. And then we would follow up and I'd meet some of their friends and I'd do it over and over. It's just, I think that we don't talk about friendship. We talk about dating so much,
Yes,
like
we do.
romantic dating. Friendship is the same thing. It's just nurturing relationships, but it's way more fun because if you there's just like lower stakes and everyone wants to make friends, honestly. And if they don't, then it's like it's the same thing. It's not right for you. I think putting yourself out there consistently and following the momentum. I don't let too much time go away. If I really want to be friends with you, I really try to get something on the calendar fast because if you wait too long, the momentum dies. Last week, I was on a podcast with a girl I'd never met. She lives in Long Island. She was like, I like you. I said, same. Let's do something. And I said, do you come to the city? She goes, yeah. And I would come to the city, hang out with you. Do you ever go to shows? I'd love to go to a show. She goes, this show looks fun. We had tickets booked, date on the calendar within an hour of being on the podcast because it's like, that's the only way it's going to happen. We are strangers. Our
Mhm.
momentum's not going to last very long. We have 1 hour of rapport on a podcast. So if we want this relationship to continue, we need to put things on the calendar. So I just, it's, I think especially in your late 20s, and especially if that's a lot of your audience, this is so normal and it is another muscle, and it's hard to start, and you're not gonna get 10 friends overnight, but I am about to turn 35 and I have the richest, craziest, most amazing friend group because for the past 7, 8 years, I've made it a massive priority in my life. And I have
Mhm.
invited people to a million things and I have planned so many things to invite people to. So you just got to kind of take it into your own hands and realize that it's a long game.
Mhm. Just out of curiosity, what did your community look like 8 years ago before you started this? Also, did
Yes.
you meet your best friend Kate on Bumble BFF? Do I remember that correctly?
No, so I met Kate because she was my sister's best friend from college. We both lived in San
Okay.
Diego. We were like acquaintances through the internet. Like we loved each other because we both loved my sister. But
Mhm.
we actually became best friends because the way I met Jesse Itzler is he has this event called Hell on the Hill, and I wanted to be invited to it. And this is back in 2017.
Mhm.
And I came up with this idea to post 100 videos because this event called Hell on the Hill, you run up and down a hill 100 times. I came up with the idea to make 100 videos of us running up and down hills just to like entertain him all year and try to get invited to this event. And I
Mhm.
asked her to do it with me because she's also just like a bit crazy and kind of a yes girl, so I just thought maybe she would do it with me, and we became best friends that way from doing this whole experience together, and then we ended up getting invited to Hell on Hill, and then you learn about these other races, and then you sign up for them, and you meet other and it's like it just snowballed, but when I met Kate, I didn't have any friends who did this stuff, like, I didn't even know
Mhm.
where to start. I learned what a triathlon was. I didn't know anyone who did that stuff. I didn't know anyone who raced, and it was like I asked one of my friends, "Do you wanna sign up for this race together?" So instead of doing it
Mhm.
myself, I just invited my other friend who didn't do this at all either, and she said, "That sounds really freaky, but I will do it." And alright, now I have a someone who by the way, I also barely knew this girl, and now she's went to Austria with me. Like, these are the same girls who ended up going to this Austria trip with me, but
Mhm.
they were brand new friends. I had this interest, and I just was inviting any person I thought would say yes, that I liked
I love
spending
that.
time with, so it was, like, light. So, those friendship had bloomed because we learned all these new things together, like, we went through it. My friend group before that, okay, if I was looking through I had my college friends, none of them are into running or anything, like, I wasn't either, and I had my high school friends, and I had, like, a best friend living in Colombia, and my sisters, like, they liked everyone's partying, whatever, I was doing it too, but I think it was, like, a pretty typical mid to late 20s experience where you go, I don't really have any hobbies, like, I don't know what I like," and start
Mhm.
following passions and wanting other people to come along with you, and I also was building from scratch.
Mhm.
It's
So if
so po
someone No, but that like, that I think that's so important to hear, and I think
Mhm.
it's really important to highlight that it takes time because I
Time.
know that we can get impatient and we can be like, "Well, why is it not happening yet?" Like, I see all these people and they have really good friend groups, but, like, I don't have these people, but realizing that, like, it does take a lot of time to, like, build these connections.
And also, this is something Jesse always says, and this is something that has really applied to my life. When you do new things with people, like if you sign up for a race together, or you're like, let's go camping, or let's do this new experience where we're both kind of uncomfortable, you will your relationship goes to a different level than if you're like, "Let's go out," or "Let's meet for coffee." Like, if you put yourselves in weird situations with people, you will learn way more about each other, you'll have more stories to tell, there'll be more lore around it, so like, I ran a 100-mile race 2 years ago, and I invited a girl to pace me, which is just, like for those who don't know, it's, like, my team to help me do this big race for 24 hours that I met
Mhm.
on a dance floor at a wedding a month before. We had no rapport. We had like, mutual friends, but I was like, I feel like she'd kinda be down," and she showed up, like, she didn't know my family, she didn't know anybody, and she helped me do the hardest thing I've ever done, like, she was running through the night with me while I was sobbing, crying because it was so hard, and this was a brand new person, but guess what? We're really good friends now, like,
Mhm.
because our friendship went from, like, a level 1 to a level, like, 7 overnight. So I think
Mhm.
if you want to accelerate it, instead of doing just like the coffee approach and you both like know you both like hiking, go pick a hike to do together.
Mhm.
Or you're both into cold plunging, like go jump in a river together and
Mhm.
you'll just have a deeper friendship off the bat.
Yeah. Which is important because as we've talked about, is like as you get older and busier, it's harder to see your friends more often. So it's very important to have like these impactful experiences with your friends when you do have the time to see them instead of just being like, yeah, let's go get coffee. Like, let's go do something that's
Let's go experience something that we're gonna remember together, and it also, like, keeps those relationships strong.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember, I mean, I know this is dating, but my boyfriend and I, like, he was there at my first 50K, like, a month after we started dating, and, like, man, does that connect you really quickly when you're just like, "I am in the pain cave, and I am suffering, and I look kind of like a wreck right now, and I'm gonna shit my pants, but it's okay. It's all okay."
But exactly, like, that
Yeah.
having those experiences together, now you can laugh about it, now he understands what that meant to you, now he went through, like
Mhm.
he probably experienced new things unless he was, like, a seasoned 50 miler, he was probably like, "What the heck is going on? Like, this is
Yeah.
insane." Like, there's just stories and memories that go along with those things, and the more you can invite people along your journey with you, like, if you could have so easily not invited him to that,
Mhm.
but you did,
Yeah.
and so it
Mhm.
accelerates things for better or
It
for
does.
worse.
For better or for worse, it does,
Yeah.
yes.
There's
Oh,
always risk,
man.
like, you could go on a camping trip with someone too soon, for sure, and be like, "Yeah, that's not a great person to go camping with," but that's just part of the game. You're not gonna, like,
Yeah.
have a perfect batting whatever, you know?
Yeah, but then you find out sooner, and then you can prioritize other things and other people, and then you don't waste your time a year trying to be friends with someone, and then, like, In and I feel like it's important to mention as well, something I have learned is you have to show as much interest, like, as the other person, and it's like I'm on this journey of, like, trying to, build my community, and there's sometimes where, like, I ask people, I'm like, "Hey, let's go do this, try to plan it," and then it's like there's never like, it's always being rescheduled, it's always not being
Yeah.
reciprocated, and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I don't have time for this anymore," and, like, being okay that you're like, "I tried and, like, gave it my full effort, and now I'm done, and I will move on."
It's just what's the best case scenario? That it's a
Yeah,
great match, and if it worst case scenario is this person that's not in your life is not in your life still, it's like, it's not
yeah.
that bad. And I've found too, like, some people are truly in busy stages of their life. I'll invite them to a few things. They'll be super appreciative to it. And when they're in a better stage of life, they'll come back to me and be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I saw you do that," or "We should do this." And like, I've already put the effort there. I've already shown them, like, I want to be friends with you. So
Mhm.
sometimes it comes back around. But again, it's like the long game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could come back around later. So always let people know how you feel about them. I think it's really important. I think women are really good at receiving it too, as just like two girls talking here. Like the way I make girlfriends is when I meet people. I've met one of my best friends in New York City. I just moved here this year. I was at a live podcast with no girls at it, just her. And when we talked, I just like hit it off with her. And we both looked at each other and were like, I want to see you again.
Mhm.
Like, what do you think? I'm like, yeah, I also want to see you again. And
Mhm.
it's okay to say things like this to people.
Mhm.
I think I think the more you put yourself out there, it's really nice for people to hear, and it's not weird. Like, if you're feeling it, it's like when you're on a date and you're both, like, flirting with each other, like, you know when you meet a friend
Yeah.
that you're like, "Oh, this has potential." Say something about it.
Mhm.
Make the first move, like, it's I feel like I make a new friend every week, honestly, and it's by doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, to kinda wrap us up here,
Yeah.
if I'm gonna get off this podcast right now, like, someone's just listening to this and they're getting excited, they're like, I want to pick a big goal." What is their first step of like, "Okay, I've always had this 100 miler on my list," or, "I've always had this triathlon." When you're saying, "I know nothing about this," where do I start in that journey of like, "Okay, this is the goal. I'm gonna prioritize it. Picking this as my Misogi. What's my first
I
step?"
think the first thing is to put it on your calendar. So if it's a race, like if it's a sanctioned race, sign up for the race, put the money down, put it on your calendar. Like make it something you're going to figure this out. We have every resource in the world, more resources than ever. So first of all, put your money where your mouth is and commit to it. Block the weekend off, whatever. And then the next thing is it depends on your budget. So if you let's say you're running a 100-mile race and or let's use a marathon as an example. There's a couple different ways to do this. And you can start with using chat or Google. How do I train for a marathon? There's so many TikToks about this. There's so many Instagrams about this. There's running coaches. So if you want to do it by yourself, you can have chat write you a plan. Hey, I've never run 1 mile in my life, and I want to run a marathon on November 15th. Can you write me a training plan that's like that will get me there without getting injured? And let me know when I have to start it. And what can I do now in the meantime to be strong? Like, it'll literally write you something, and then you can just be accountable to that. If you have more disposable income and you want more accountability, there's running coaches out there, and you can hire a running coach. They can do that same plan for you, but they can also be checking in with you. I suggest if it's a half marathon or marathon, get involved with some run clubs, because if it's a local marathon or half, there's going to be other people in that run club that are doing it. And you could be like, I've never done this before.
Mhm.
How are you doing this? Or like, do you want to go on your long run together with me this weekend? Or it's just, it's taking one step at a time, but don't let that you don't know prevent you from signing up. Sign up first, figure the rest out later. We can literally Google the rest of it. And there's YouTubes for everything else. And if you have the budget to bring along accountability coaches, can't recommend it enough. I didn't have, and there's ones that are like less hands-on too. When I did my first triathlon, I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to run more than 3 miles. I'd never swam in open water. I didn't know how to freestyle swim. I'd never been on a road bike. I was like so overwhelmed, and I hired a coach. He was on the lower end. He was like $100 a month. That's like a low end for like an actual coach, but he wrote me a plan. He put it in an app for me to follow. He taught me things. He's like, go get this watch, go to this bike shop. They'll take care of you. You can spend this and this. Like when you hire help, like instead of Googling it, you have this person that you can just trust. And that's really nice to do with anything. Like if you can ever hire a coach, I say do it.
Mhm.
Um, but otherwise, the internet's your best friend.
It is.
And I tell everybody, because if you tell everybody, you will get connected with people who've done it before. If you're like, I'm running a marathon, and you tell your whole family, and you're like, no one in my family's ever run a marathon. Someone will know someone who ran a marathon and be like, can you connect me with them? Like, so I can ask them questions. Like, use it as an opportunity to connect with people.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the first thing is just deciding and committing.
Okay. And something I like to ask everyone before I wrap up the podcast is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Everyone says it. I really think so, but it's like so true, is just start.
Mhm.
Like, I used to be such an overthinker, and I'm not perfect, but the only way I've learned how to do these things is just because I was not afraid of being bad at them and showed up and did it. Like, if you want to go to Pilates class, just be prepared to be super embarrassed and it's weird and whatever, but you just have to go, because you'll never be good unless you just start going. And that
Mhm.
applies to literally everything. If you're wanting to start a business or a podcast or sign up for a race, everyone's feels super stupid and really weird, and no one's paying attention to you at all. So the best thing you can do is just start, because that then you'll start be on the road to learning how to do it. So the sooner you figure that out, the more things you can do more freely in your life.
I love it. Thanks for listening to the Blue Rose podcast. If you love this episode, please hit follow, leave a review, or send it to a friend who's building their own bold life. Keep trusting yourself, and I'll see you next week.